Hello and welcome to Lansing, the state capital of Michigan. Please join me as we take a tour of the state to meet with people involved with an exciting, comprehensive new system serving the juvenile population of Michigan called Juvenile Justice Online Technology. This was an initiative sponsored by the Family Independence Agency through their Bureau of Juvenile Justice. And essentially it was designed to create a resource that gave a continuum of care capability to every professional engaging with that child, medically, socially, prosecuting attorney, judges, all having access needed to provide the best treatment or judgment for that child. Please join me now as we visit people throughout the state so you can hear their personal comments and benefits of this exciting new plan. It's a pleasure to now be in the courtroom of Judge Patricia Gardner. Judge Gardner is a probate judge in the Family Division in Kent County, located here in Grand Rapids. We wanted to gain from Judge Gardner a perspective of the juvenile online technology system. And Judge Gardner, in your experience of juvenile justice in the state of Michigan, why did you feel that the JOLT initiative was of value to the children of Michigan?
I think the JOLT initiative really enables judges to do a better job for children and families that are at risk, because it provides information throughout the system of juvenile justice, from the provider, the counselor, the institution, to the probation officer, to the schools, to ultimately the court. And the more information the court can have in reviewing a child's case, the better decision we can make as judges across the state for youth. I also think that technology in this century is so important for all of us. Even someone like myself who is so challenged with technology issues. Although it's a challenge for me personally, I certainly see the benefit in the juvenile justice system. And the JOLT system allows everyone within the state to really benefit by understanding crime statistics, by increasing the web of information from the prosecutor's office with the court, treatment providers, the Family Independence Agency, and others. And I think this really brings Michigan as a leader across the United States in developing a technology system that allows for us to have a realistic view of what's happening within the juvenile justice area with trends of crime or successful treatment trends or successful probation orders that can be entered by the court. So on many levels, I think it's beneficial to our citizens, to safe communities, and to the entire web of services that touch children at risk.
Thank you. Our next visit brings us to the office of Ken Hales. Ken is the director of the Bureau of Juvenile Justice here within the Family Independence Agency. Ken follows the philosophy that when an offense occurs within the community, there's a restorative process that involves the juvenile as well as society to make sure that these offenses do not occur again. Let's ask Ken now his perspective of how this new initiative is helping him in his mission. Ken, thanks for visiting with us. With you being the executive responsible for the Bureau of Juvenile Justice, can you share with our viewers the significance and value of the Juvenile Justice Online Technology resource and the benefits that it provides to the state of Michigan?
Oh, sure, I'd love to. I see the benefit in two levels. At the level which most directly impacts the kid and caseworkers is the ability to do case management and have a case management file, follow the youth, regardless of where they go and who's working with them. So in that regard, it's very helpful. It also is very helpful with regard to, at a state level, us being able to know where the kids are and what's happening with them. But also, I think it has a very important, and this is an aspect that people don't necessarily recognize, but it has an immensely important value for strategic decision making, public policy decision making, and simply budget management. One of the things that is unique or not unique to Michigan or many of the other states is the failure of the juvenile justice system to talk to itself among the different layers. People don't realize that most of the work in juvenile justice happens at the county level. And county governments are not integrated, and some have information systems, some have no systems, but I guarantee you none of them talk to each other. And so a big burden and a big responsibility the state has is to have an overall understanding of what's happening in juvenile justice in the state. And JOLT is our vehicle to gain that understanding. It's our vehicle to bring the data from the different people that have contact with juvenile offenders into a centralized database so we can answer just the most simple yet urgent and necessary questions for public policy decision makers. If a legislator were to ask me how many kids we suspected would be coming into our system, I can't answer that. It's only from the information that we'll be getting from JOLT and after populating that database that we'll be able to have good information on how many kids are coming into the system and where they're going. Right now, it's piecemeal. And with participation in JOLT, we'll have a comprehensive view for all the areas of the state. The other thing that I'm excited about is juvenile justice is a community phenomenon. And one of our responsibilities is to help communities develop their systems to intervene with juveniles. And one of the things that we can do to help do that is provide them information. It's, as I mentioned before, some counties have information, some don't, but if a youth were to leave your county and commit a crime in your neighbor's county, you wouldn't know. Mm-hmm. And so with a statewide system, not only do we provide ourselves information to do our business and planning, but we can provide local communities information so that they can effectively plan juvenile justice programs at the community level. And that's something I'm excited to offer them.
It's interesting how you describe that. So it's beneficial to everyone who's providing care. The counties for their programmatic development, your ability to provide meaningful information to legislators for funding, accountability. This really is a beneficial program for everyone from a care to a business efficiency perspective as well. Derek and Veronica, thank you for allowing us to spend a few moments with you. Derek, let me begin with you if I may. With you being the director of MAXI, you have a very critical mission for the residents in your care. And there's a lot of information you need to have at your fingertips. Can you share with us what is the value of the JOLT information resource to you in managing MAXI?
Well, I think probably the most important part is having all the background information and all the collateral contact on any of the youth we serve right at our fingertips, and being able to have a complete picture of what's been done in the past and what the identified treatment needs are so that we can develop a treatment plan that's really going to hit the needs of that particular child. I guess probably the second area that comes to mind would be in terms of incident reporting. And that's something in a facility of this size that you want to have a very good handle on. And the JOLT system allows us to automate that information, review it promptly, sort it as we need it so that we can review it and respond to situations as they occur.
Understood. So comprehensive and timely. Thanks. Well, Veronica, with you providing administrative support, can you share with our viewers how this new information resource helps you on a day-to-day basis provide the information that Derek describes for he and the staff here at MAXI?
The greatest aspect of JOLT in helping me on a day-to-day basis would be the input of all the different departments here at MAXI, the nurses entering the information from our health services, the psychiatrists entering the information in clinical services, as well as the teachers giving their input at the academic center. And the fact that we can pull all this information in administration into reports and put it together is great, a great advantage for us.
Can you describe a particular event in the past where not having a system like this caused you a particular headache that you can recall?
Yes, administrators from the Bureau of Juvenile Justice or the Family Independence Agency call and want statistics right away, of course. And before the implementation of JOLT, this was a tedious, handwritten process of digging through records, where now with a couple of clicks of the mouse, it's done very promptly.
Well, thank you for sharing those perspectives, and we wish you all the best of luck, and we look forward to keeping in touch with you all as MAXI continues its involvement with this new state system. So thank you so much for joining us both.
Thank you.
Well, Lauren, thank you for having us in your office and asking a couple of questions. I think our viewers are probably very curious as to this innovative model of a private organization and a state coming together. Could you comment as to why this partnership you feel is of value between Holy Cross Services and the state of Michigan?
Well, first of all, thank you for mentioning Holy Cross Children's Services, and many folks will probably know us as Boysville of Michigan for over 50 years, and so there's some value to that, that's for sure. We as Boysville for 50 years, if you go back to our history, a lot of things were done in a way that might have been considered inefficient in those days, with passing paper around and things like that. So there is a value these days in a new technology era, in a new name, to have an information system that is efficient. And now we're at in our industry, we're at a point where we're not just considered that small mom and pop nonprofit. We have to provide our services in an efficient way, and that includes information. We have to share information internally between our treatment staff and our administrative staff. There's case records and plan of care information that has to be shared, demographics, services lead to billing, those types of things. That has to be accurate, timely information and it has to be efficient, and there's the value. So from a business standpoint, we're hoping to ultimately cut cost by having efficient information, and this system will allow us to do that. It's going to allow us to share internally. The other part of that is it's going to allow us to share information externally with our customers. We deal with most of the counties in Michigan. We're dealing with court administrators and caseworkers. We're dealing with the state directly and private payers as well. So again, you have to have accurate, timely information to have these customers and satisfy these customers and ultimately provide good care. And that's where the value is going to come in on the business side of it.
So what you're saying is that this not only provides continuum of care benefit to children and juveniles, but it provides sound, tangible business value to Holy Cross Children's Services as an organization from business efficiency.
It's an opportunity for sound business.
Our next stop brings us to Washington, D.C., where we're going to be listening to John Toole, the Director of Juvenile Justice for the Child Welfare League of America, and asking John to share his perspective of the benefits that he sees in merging the SACWIS and juvenile justice information systems as Michigan is laying out. John?
I appreciate the opportunity to comment about the work of the Michigan Family Independence Agency and its collaborative partners to merge the state's SACWIS and juvenile justice systems. I was privileged to spend some time in Michigan with the individuals responsible for this effort and witness a demonstration of the system's capacity. As one who previously toiled for nearly 2 decades in the halls of juvenile and family court, often making recommendations for dispositions with fragmented background information, I'm convinced the merging of SACWIS and JJOLT is an important contribution to achieving better outcomes for Michigan's children, families, and their communities. Separately, JJOLT and SACWIS information systems provide a database that enhances the information available to caseworkers and managers within those systems. Merged, collective capacities develop that individual systems didn't possess. Within CWLA's Juvenile Justice Division, we've been raising awareness regarding the undeniable connection between child maltreatment and juvenile delinquency, and assisting states and local jurisdictions to more effectively coordinate juvenile justice and child welfare systems. Credible research confirms that a sizable percentage of youth entering the juvenile justice system have previous histories of child maltreatment. These systems are frequently dealing with the same youth and the same families, but don't work cooperatively to impact positive outcomes. Michigan's public and private leadership clearly recognize this fact and have done something about the way in which these systems speak to each other to enhance the outcomes for these youth and families. While this project is not the first effort of its kind, and these folks have not invented the wheel, it has provided an exemplary collaborative process to be replicated in other jurisdictions. Specifically, this work has produced an information system that incorporates a wide array of critical data elements to better inform caseworkers, case managers, and key decision makers in both systems. It has also contributed to the development of a more coordinated child welfare and juvenile justice system. The Michigan Family Independence Agency has navigated the common barriers that confront this effort: insufficient technology, competing policies, procedures, and regulations, confidentiality issues, and scarcity of developmental resources. This work goes a long way toward attending to the 5 universal needs of our nation's children, as articulated in CWLA's Framework for Community Action monograph. This will ensure the healthy and prosperous development of our most imperiled and at-risk youth. From CWLA's perspective, it will provide an important tool for caseworkers, case managers, agency directors, and state and local policymakers to improve outcomes for the children, youth, and families in Michigan. John, thank you for your comments.
Our next visit brings us here to Washtenaw County, located in Ann Arbor. We're now in Don Ray's office, and Don is a first assistant prosecutor here in the juvenile court in Washtenaw County. And Don, we asked to share insights as to the difficulties that he would find as a prosecuting attorney working with juveniles when he had inadequate information, how that could affect him and the juveniles involved. So with that, we're going to ask Don to give some perspective from a prosecuting attorney's point of view as to how a system like JOLT can help. But before we ask him the benefits, let's ask him to describe briefly what it was like before a system and some of the difficulties that he would deal with.
Primarily, it's the lack of information. You get a juvenile who is brought before you in a police agency, arrests a juvenile or picks a juvenile up and brings the petition before you, and you don't know anything about them. In Washtenaw County, where we have a number of borders where they're pretty elastic. The children live in Wayne County, go to school in Washtenaw County, or live in Washtenaw County, go to school in Wayne County. Or their parents send them here to live with grandma to go to schools in Ann Arbor. And when that happens, without a system for checking other counties, all the information that we have is what is contained in our records and our files. So we get a child who is charged with a criminal sexual conduct, perhaps first degree, or the complaint is for a first degree criminal sexual conduct case. And you're trying to make a decision as to whether or not this 15 or 16-year-old should be charged as a juvenile and go through the juvenile system, or charged as an adult and go through the adult system. And without the appropriate information, you oftentimes make the wrong decision. Obviously, that usually works out to the benefit of the juvenile and to the detriment of society as a whole, and or his next rape victim. But sometimes you charge a child as a juvenile with a case where he probably should have been charged as an adult, but it's a borderline case and you have no history on him. Then after he's charged and he's been convicted or adjudicated, and you get his probation pre-sentence report, you find out he's got 3 prior CSC convictions in Saginaw or Wayne County, which would have tipped the scale in terms of him being charged as a sexual predator as an adult. The same thing with unarmed robbery or robbery conviction, where they're armed with some kind of a weapon and they rob somebody. You find out that the child has a long history afterwards of incidents where they have perhaps not committed an armed robbery before, but they've committed assaults, assault GBHs, other felony type offenses, and that child should have been charged as an adult. In the abuse and neglect situations, it's oftentimes a lack of information that makes it difficult to assist the child. Now, FIA is pretty good in checking their central registry and checking to see what other cases they have and getting the information, but sometimes it's the speed in which you get the information that makes a difference in terms of the treatment that the parents or the child may get.
Welcome to Monroe County here in southern Michigan. Judge Moskowitz, could you share with the viewers, please, why you felt that the JOLT resource was something that would be helpful to the court and its operations?
Yes, we had been looking, and when I say we, I'm talking about a collaborative of community leaders, had been looking at a way to communicate and base decisions in our county on juvenile justice on well-reasoned current data. And as we started examining our system, we found that collection of data and manipulation of the data was very difficult with existing systems, and we were at a loss to try to formulate our decisions based on current and accurate data. So we have been looking for a system that we thought would help us communicate across agencies, track the data that we want, be efficient, be user-friendly. And when we heard about the JOLT system, we asked your people to come down. And I'm not a computer person, but I had our county information technology guru with us. And we started hearing about the JOLT system and asking questions. And JOLT was able to do the types of things that we were looking for. It was able to take existing data and use it in its system. It was able to be a user-friendly system, so even someone like myself would be able to use the system and access the data rather easily. It was helpful to all levels of our court. In other words, secretaries were able to use it and find it to be helpful. Probation officers could use it for their reporting and tracking information on juveniles and found that to be helpful. Our youth center and treatment and detention facility found that it answered the questions that they were addressing with trying to track intake and juveniles through that system. Another problem that we were facing was trying to get data on our children who were placed out of our system, such as with the Family Independence Agency and private placements. And we had a great difficulty trying to do that. But the JOLT system, of course, is built to address those systems. So with this in place, we'll be able to communicate about a child with all of the systems that touch the child. And so we have the statewide systems, and even local systems like school districts can post a child's absence on the system, and our probation officer will know it the same day. And so it seemed to have all the answers in terms of what we were looking for, and our information experts said they had the right answers as well, and that it would be secure, efficient, functional for all of us. So it just almost seemed too good to be true.
Well, thank you for sharing that observation, and we look forward to keeping in touch with you for further observations, and thank you again for your time.
My pleasure. Very nice to meet you. Thank you.
This completes our tour. Hopefully what the state of Michigan created can be of help to you personally and professionally when you return home. Different organizations, different procedures coming together for the benefit of a child and their family can truly produce impressive results. Thank you for your time.